Imagine this. One season, you're on top of the world, winning your first league title in 20 years. The next, you drop all the way down to 10th place. Your championship-winning manager, gone. Your star striker, forced out to a weaker league. And after 5 different managers in 2 seasons, it looked like Napoli was spiraling. But here we are, and they're back on top. So who's behind this turnaround? Enter Antonio Conte, a man who is not just leading Napoli, he's transforming them. And he's got an intense, evil game plan that has everyone talking. Let's dive into what Conte is doing to shake up Serie A. So Napoli went from a fairy tale Scudetto win to a nightmare season where they finished a shocking 39 points behind Inter. That collapse is in the record books now, marking one of the worst title defenses Serie A has ever seen. Fans were stunned as the team that had finally reached the top after 20 years fell so quickly they could not even qualify for European football. A first in over a decade. What happened? A lot of the blame went straight to club president Aurelio De Laurentiis. Things started crumbling when he pushed out Luciano Spalletti, a beloved coach who brought the best out of Napoli. And then instead of a high-energy replacement, he went with Rudi Garcia, whose style just did not inspire the fans or the players. De Laurentiis' attachment to the 4-3-3 formation further complicated things. Napoli burned through 3 different managers trying to find someone who could make it work, but the spark just wasn't there. But now things are different. Napoli has turned to someone who knows how to fix a mess and turn it into something powerful. Antonio Conte. This guy's resume is packed with quick turnarounds, title wins, and an obsession with getting his teams into peak fighting shape. He's won the Scudetto with both Inter and Juventus, so the big question is, can he bring that magic to Naples? Conte wasted no time putting his stamp on Napoli, and one of the biggest shifts was in the transfer market. This season, Napoli made a dramatic shift away from their usual model of signing young, up-and-coming players with potential resale value. Instead, Conte convinced Aurelio De Laurentiis to invest in experienced, battle-hardened players. The result? 7 high-profile players arrived before the transfer window closed, transforming the team right before the sale of their star striker, Victor Osimhen. One of the first moves Conte made was to overhaul Napoli's backline. After years of sticking to a 4-back formation, Conte brought in his signature back 3 setup. The additions of central defenders Alessandro Buongiorno and Rafa Marin, along with wingback Leonardo Spinazzola, have given Conte the flexibility to build a solid low-block defense. This approach allows Napoli to sit back, absorb pressure, and then explode forward on the counter. It's a classic Conte move. Focus on structure at the back and then unleash chaos in the final third, breaking down opponents with speed and precision. The midfield also saw some strategic upgrades, with Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmour joining as deadline day signings. Conte now had the tools to deploy a 3-man midfield if needed. This change could be crucial for covering the central spaces and shutting down the opposition's attacks before they even reach the back line. McTominay's physicality combined with Gilmour's technical ability makes for a balanced midfield that can adapt to Conte's high-intensity demands. Conte's impact is not just tactical. He's also reshaping Napoli's mentality. A recent comeback win against Parma was a perfect display of the grinta Conte brings. In true Conte fashion, the team showed grit, determination, and that never-say-die attitude that has become a hallmark of his coaching style. This mindset shift is already paying off, with the squad showing a newfound unity and fighting spirit. And then there's Romelu Lukaku. Conte and Lukaku share a special bond, one that Conte leveraged back when they were at Inter together, leading the club to a title. Now at Napoli, Conte revived that partnership. Lukaku came off the bench in his debut and immediately made an impact, finding the back of the net. Conte's faith in the Belgian forward is clear, and he's already working his magic to bring out the best in him. This connection between manager and player is no small thing. It's a strategic move that could prove crucial as Napoli pushes for a top spot this season. Known for his defensive setups and aggressive counterattacks, Conte built his reputation on wide overloads, with wingbacks pushing up and creating crossing opportunities. Yet his approach with Napoli is taking a surprising turn. Conte has transitioned from relying on wide combinations to crafting central overloads, creating chances with quick vertical passes down the middle, and redefining Napoli's attack to focus on precision with pure width. This pivot to the center is shaking up Serie A, but why has Conte shifted away from his trusted formula? From wide overloads to central clusters. Conte's teams have always been known for their efficiency out wide, using athletic wingbacks to stretch defenses and create space for crosses. At Juventus, Chelsea, and Inter, his system emphasized flanking attack, drawing opponents to the sidelines before finding players in the box. Players like Victor Moses and Marcos Alonso became vital pieces of his title-winning Chelsea squad, while Conte's attempt attempts to replicate the setup at Tottenham struggled without the right wing-backs. But at Napoli, Conte has reimagined this system entirely. After a tough opening defeat, Conte assessed his options and saw untapped potential in players like McTominay and Lukaku. The solution? Switching to a back four formation, which he uses to establish big central overload. With wide players drifting into the middle instead of spreading out, the team now works closely, using short, quick passes to break down defenses. This central focus, along with Lukaku and McTominay's presence up front, has reshaped Napoli's style, turning them into one of Europe's most intriguing squads. When Conte opts for the 5-3-2 setup, Napoli are all about making it nearly impossible for opponents to move quickly across the field. They lock down the middle so hard that the other team has to push the ball all the way back to their own center backs just to try switching sides. The players form a diagonal line that blocks every path through the center. By the time the ball comes back around, Napoli's entire defense has shifted to cover, keeping that tight formation that Conte insists on. It's a constant reset that wears down even the best teams. Conte's approach is all about staying close, compact, and aggressively blocking passing lanes. You'll rarely see big gaps between Napoli's lines. This tight formation keeps opponents from playing through the middle, limiting their options to risky, high-crossing plays or long balls. Conte's Napoli players instantly collapse on anyone with the ball, creating these dense zones that make it look like the pitch just got smaller. And if Napoli wins possession, they're ready to launch into a fast counterattack. What makes this even nastier is how aggressive the center backs get. They'll push right up on any midfielders trying to turn, forcing the opponent to play back, and allowing Napoli's midfielders and strikers to press higher up. And even when these center backs push forward, the rest of the defense just slides over to close any gaps. Napoli's backline, in one swift movement, morphs into a compact, almost impenetrable wall, squeezing the life out of opponents. Conte's philosophy: if they're defending, they're pushing the opponent back. His players press high up the field, waiting for the opponent to make a slow or sideways pass. As soon as that happens, Napoli's players surge forward, closing down space, forcing the ball back, and pushing their opponents further from goal. It's a continuous pressure that has opponents struggling to hold possession or even advance. This squeeze mentality, where Napoli stay tight and compact, keeps the opposition far from goal and out of rhythm. Opponents are forced into poor passes and bad decisions, which Conte's side capitalize on to win the ball back. It's relentless and honestly pretty brutal. Step 1. The build-up shape. Napoli's new shape in possession resembles a 2-4-2-2, with wingers Kvaratskhelia and Politano moving inside, allowing Lukaku and McTominay to wait for any aerial or through balls. The formation sets up two clear vertical corridors through the center, making it easier for Napoli to bypass the opposition's midfield. Occasionally, they will still shift the ball out wide for quick first-time passes, but the real threat now comes from the central overload that Conte has engineered. Step 2. Creating the overload. When Napoli moves further upfield, the rotation becomes even more evident. Conte's 4-2-4 quickly morphs as one holding midfielder, often Anguissa, drops between the center backs, freeing the fullbacks to push forward. This movement, known as the Lavopiana exit, allows Napoli to maintain width without compromising their central cluster. It's an approach famously used by Pep Guardiola, but Conte's twist lies in his ability to alternate between his holding midfielders based on the needs of each game. As fullbacks push back, Kvaratskhelia and Politano slot into the central overload, creating layers that confuse opposition defenses and open up channels for passes into the final third. Why it works? The central focus on Lukaku. The core of the setup is Lukaku's presence. Conte has given Lukaku a role that's more about holding up play than simply being a target man. As Napoli progresses up the pitch, Lukaku receives the ball centrally, drawing defenders and allowing players like McTominay to break into space. McTominay's mobility complements Lukaku's hold-up play as he rotates positions with Kvaratskhelia, creating passing options in the channels. This combination has already led to several goals, and with Napoli's decrease in crosses, the team's emphasis on cutbacks and through balls is paying off. The defensive setup. Classic Conte with a twist. Conte's defensive tactics are just as crucial to his success as Napoli. Despite a fresh approach to attacking play, the Italian manager stays true to his defensive roots. Napoli quickly transitions to a 5-3-2 setup when out of possession, with Politano dropping deep to form a compact mid-block. Unlike other teams that that press high, Napoli forms a solid wall across the pitch, blocking central routes and forcing opponents to work hard for every pass. Key players like Lobotka, Anguissa, and McTominay shift to cover any gaps, while Kvaratskhelia and Lukaku remain up front as targets for counterattacks. This defensive structure also limits the opposition's ability to commit too many players forward, as Conte forces them to keep their players back to prevent being outnumbered on Napoli's swift counters. Once they regain the ball, Napoli wastes no time launching attacks, with Kvaratskhelia often moving out wide to exploit space and Lukaku ready to charge down the inside channels. A new, dangerous Conte team in the making? Conte's Napoli is still in its early stages, but the potential is clear. With no midweek European fixtures to drain their energy, Napoli could be in an excellent position to mount a title challenge. The shift to a central focused fluid formation not only maximizes Lukaku and McTominay's strengths, but could redefine Conte's style entirely. The combination of tactical flexibility and a refreshed squad could make Napoli one of the most dangerous teams in Serie A. Do you think Conte's revamped tactics can help Napoli in the title race? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think it's genius or just plain ruthless? And if you're as shocked by this transformation as I am, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tactical breakdowns on the beautiful game. Catch you later.